I'm Alice Berger, and I come from Drayton Valley. I live on a farm just east of Drayton Valley. My husband and I were married 50 years before he passed away. It was a real shock when we got the diagnosis in '03 because he was very healthy in many ways. We were both pretty healthy and active, and so when he got the diagnosis, we were very, I would say, not devastated or anything like that. I think we just took it as another thing that we had to deal with. And so in the beginning, it was just dealing with his diagnosis and then going through a treatment plan. And I think the treatment plan wasn't the right one that the oncologist, he sent him to an oncologist in Leduc. And they didn't do an aggressive treatment like chemo or radiation. They decided to do a hormonal treatment, whereas they take the testosterone level down. From there, it was good for a while, but he was not happy with the oncologist because of his treatment and him not listening to what he was experiencing with this treatment. So he found an oncologist in Calgary, and one that would listen to him and tell him and listen to his mental change that was happening within his body and within his mind, because every other doctor he talked to said, no, this doesn't happen. And I said, yeah, it does happen. His mental health has really deteriorated. As a caregiver, I have to say his mental attitude towards me was really, really, I'm going to say the word shitty. He turned his anger towards me, and I was blamed for everything that under the sun. It didn't matter what it was. And that took a toll on me because I understood that it was his treatment and what they were doing, and he couldn't help himself. When he was himself, he said, I can't help what I'm doing. He said, I know I'm hurting you, but when this happens, it's like a mental illness. And understanding that it was his treatment that was doing this, I tried to adjust to it, but I couldn't. And therefore, I had a heart attack with the stress. After that, he said, I can't lose you. Therefore, I'm not going to take this treatment anymore. And he stopped it. It was very hard for him to do that, but I know the struggle he had with his mental illness, it turned into a mental thing. It was a real hard journey, and I would like to let other people know, if there's a caregiver, if this happens, reach out to somebody. I didn't know where to turn. I was put down so bad I didn't feel like I could do anything. I felt helpless. I felt disregarded. I felt all kinds of awful emotions, but trying to help my husband at the same time. I don't know. I didn't have anybody. I couldn't tell my children. I couldn't tell my grown children what was happening with their father and myself. And it came to a point, he said, if I'm going to commit suicide, he said, don't stop me. But that isn't in my nature, so he did try. But I had to be very vigilant when things were really bad for him, of trying to get through this mental, because it wasn't him. It was not him at all. He was a kind, loving person and turned into a real kind of a not a tyrant. He was very manipulative, I guess, in what he was doing. He knew what he was doing, but he couldn't help himself. And I believe because that wasn't him. So different treatments. That treatment was not good for him. And so when they decided to do something, it was too late. That the tumors were too big, and there was no other recourse. But so when my husband was in palliative care, there was no one there. My daughter would stop in. She's busy, as everyone is. And I was exhausted. I was absolutely at my wit at the end, because I'd had a heart attack, and I was getting over that, and then still caring for my husband. But he was trying to take care of me too. But it was more me taking over again, and I think even it's 5 years, I'm still recuperating from the mental, the physical, the spiritual part of my being. Now, when he was in palliative care, I could have used some spiritual help, or somebody to come and talk to me, or there was nobody I could reach out to. I sort of am a Catholic, and I was baptized into the church. So the priest just didn't understand. So I couldn't turn to anyone like that. The friends that I had, they seemed to disappear. So what I have to say is, I think in my community, there's Métis people, but there's very few, and so it was a lonely trip. And it's still a lonely trip. But I do have a strong spiritual, I do follow my spiritual needs, and it's actually a First Nations, because my dad's family, we all followed the First Nations and the Métis. We lived both lives. And so I went to lodges, sweat lodges, and I do the smudges. But that is what got me through. That's what has gotten me through. And I know a lot of Métis people may follow that, but there's a lot that don't, because very Christian. A lot of my family is very Catholic, and so we kind of walk both ways, but some kind of don't follow what I follow. But that's okay. This is my journey. This is what I believe in, and it's my spiritual journey. And I do think my advice is to take care of all of your aspects of yourself, is your mental health, your body, and your spirit is really, really important. Even, when you're going through it, if the person doesn't survive, you keep going and don't lose that, where you lose yourself in grief, because I did grieve. And that's another thing I have to talk about. Was afterwards I went to a grieving group, and it didn't help me. They forgot the spiritual part of of the grief, and that was really missing. And so I had to quit. I had to go out and find something that worked for me, and that was the Sweat Lodge, because I had gone there before. It wasn't new to me. And I went back and started healing from there. And so that's my advice. Find some way to make that your spirit, feed your spirit, that part of you that will get you through the grief. If you lose your partner or a child, I lost a sister as well to cancer, and that was hard. That was after my husband. I was a good support, I think, for her husband, because I knew what he was going through. The mental part is so important, because to deal with that and then go through what I had to go through, and then come back even trying to be stronger than because of that. It's a journey that my husband and I both went through, and we had time to set affairs in order before he left. We had a business together. We sold the business. He told me we live on a farm. He says, this is what you do. And we went through all of those, getting ready for his passing, because we knew it was going to happen. So communicating that way was very helpful for me, because we did own other property, and he said, this is what's happening and this is what you need to do. And I've always helped doing things, but now it's all up to me, and it's still all up to me. I still live out on the farm. And I take his advice of what he said, this is what needs to be done. And it's good. We're good. And when he passed, he was good.